Hi, I'm Mina.
And I'm Yules.
Thanks for tuning in to Artificially Informed.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take that huge pile of global news, the science, the history, the politics, everything.
And we boil it right down for you, get you the key stuff.
Today, it's a massive stack. We're going from like building materials for Mars to tiny insect-like drones, ancient gods carved in stone, and then straight into some really tough geopolitical hotspots.
It's a whirlwind, basically. Our mission is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge from all this. Stuff like, AI messing up in court.
Right, or even that wild idea about doping being allowed in sports. We want you to leave this with a really solid, balanced view of what's actually happening out there.
Okay, let's dive in. Where better to start than, well, the foundations. Innovation, engineering, the stuff that builds what's next, and literal foundations in this case. We've got this breakthrough from the University of Manchester. They're calling it StarCrete.
StarCrete. Sounds like something out of science fiction, but it's real potential, right? Even though the big idea is, well, space.
Exactly. The headline stat, the thing that makes you go, whoa, is the strength. They're saying it's twice as strong as the regular concrete we use down here.
Twice as strong. Okay, so that's not just for building stronger bridges here then.
Well, maybe eventually, but the real game changer is for building off-world. Think moon bases, Mars habitats, that's the primary target.
Right, because launching stuff into space is incredibly expensive. Every single pound costs a fortune.
Precisely. And the beauty of StarCrete is how it's made. You can apparently tweak the recipe to use local materials.
Local materials?
Yeah.
Like Martian dust.
Exactly, Martian regolith.
Yeah.
So instead of shipping tons and tons of concrete mix from Earth, future astronauts could potentially just scoop up the local dirt.
Mix it with this StarCrete binder, and bam, you've got super strong building material right there.
That's the concept. It makes long-term bases, proper settlements, suddenly seem much more feasible, cheaper, faster. It could really redefine long-term space missions.
Okay, so from huge structures down to things you can barely see. Defense tech is shrinking, right? Microweapons.
Yeah, it's a major shift. The U.S. is putting a lot into developing these stealthy micro-drones. Some are apparently like insects.
Like insects? Wow. So these aren't just for spying.
Oh, no. They can be used for covert surveillance, yes, but also for reconnaissance, even targeted strikes. And the key thing is stealth.
Because they're too small for normal radar to pick up.
Pretty much. They're designed to just blend in, look like a bug, or just background noise. Very hard to detect.
Which obviously kicks off a whole new kind of arms race. And raises some tricky ethical questions, I imagine.
Definitely. Sources mention China is pushing hard in this area too, supposedly working on mosquito-sized drones using biomimicry.
Biomimicry, so they look and maybe even act like real mosquitoes.
Yeah.
That's unsettling.
It really is, because if you're attacked by something that looks like a bug, how do you even know who sent it? Attribution becomes a nightmare.
Yeah, it blurs the lines completely. State attack, terrorist group. It demands a whole new way of thinking about warfare rules, like the Geneva Conventions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tricky new landscape.
Okay, let's talk speed now. Physical speed versus, say, data speed. We still look back at NASA's X-43A, right? The hypersonic plane.
Oh yeah, the scramjet, Mach 9.6. Almost 10 times the speed of sound. It was pilotless, of course, but still an incredible piece of engineering. Hints at where aviation might go eventually.
So that's fast flight. What about fast computing? Quantum leaps, literally.
Well, this is where it gets really mind-bending. Researchers down at Auburn University have developed something called surface immobilized electrodes.
Surface immobilized. Electrodes. Okay, break that down. Why is that a big deal?
The core idea is that these materials can hold on to and control free electrons really well. They're stable and tunable.
Free electrons. So electrons that aren't tied up in chemical bonds, like they're just hanging out.
Sort of, yeah. And normally materials that do that, electrodes, are really unstable, hard to work with. These new ones are different. They're stable.
Okay, stable, free electrons. Why do we care?
Two huge potential applications. First, quantum computing. You need stable, controllable quantum bits or qubits, and these materials might be a way to create them.
Right, the building blocks of quantum computers. And the second?
Chemical manufacturing. These materials could be amazing catalysts. They could help make chemical reactions happen much more efficiently using less energy.
So faster computers and greener chemistry. That sounds like a pretty big leap.
It could be revolutionary, genuinely. Changing how we process information and how we make, well, almost everything.
Okay, from the theoretical to the actual launches and missions happening right now.
Yeah.
The space race is definitely heating up. Let's talk recent successes. SpaceX's Starship.
Yep. Flight Test 11, another big step. The key thing was the Starship itself surviving that fiery re-entry.
You can see how scorched it was.
Oh, yeah, intense heat. But it made it through and did a controlled splashdown in the Indian Ocean. It's huge.
Controlled splashdown, meaning they're getting closer to actually landing it properly for reuse.
Exactly. That's the whole point for SpaceX full rapid reusability. Every test like this gets them closer to making spaceflight cheaper and more routine.
And it's not just SpaceX. China's making serious moves too.
Definitely. Orion Space, which is a commercial company over there, had its second successful launch of their Gravity 1 rocket. They're becoming a real player in the launch market.
Okay, and Europe, the European Space Agency, ESA.
They've got their big exoplanet hunter, the Plato mission. That stands for Planetary Transits and Oscillations of Stars.
Sounds complex. What's the latest with Plato? It's launching soon, right?
December launch planned. And the big news is it just successfully deployed its solar panels. That's a critical step. Has to work before launch.
And its job is to find Earth-like planets.
Yeah, by looking for tiny dips in starlight as planets pass in front of their stars. It'll be staring at millions of stars. A huge data set incoming.
Cool. Okay, shifting from our tech up there to just looking up. Good time to see Andromeda.
Apparently, yes. October is prime time for stargazers. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest big spiral neighbor, 2.5 million light years away.
Which is just mind-boggling distance.
Totally. But it's so big you can actually see it without a telescope if you're somewhere dark. And right now, it's high overhead in the evening sky. Perfect viewing.
Nice. Okay, closer to home, Mars. There's a wild new theory about dry ice.
This is fascinating, yeah. The idea is that big slabs of frozen carbon dioxide dry ice might actually burrow their way across the Martian surface.
Burrow. How, like worms. They mentioned dune sandworms.
Ah! Yeah, that's the evocative comparison. Basically, as the seasons change on Mars, the dry ice can turn directly into gas supplement underneath the slab.
Ah, so the gas pressure builds up.
Exactly. And it could potentially push the slab, make it scrape along, carve out channels. It's a new way to think about how Mars's surface changes and how CO2 cycles work there.
Wow. Okay, from burrowing ice to cosmic impacts. A mystery down in Australia.
Yeah, this is cool. Scientists found a big field of tektites in South Australia. Tektites are like little glass blobs made when a meteorite hits Earth and melts rock.
Okay, so evidence of a big impact.
A big one, yeah. These tektites are about 11 million years old, so something substantial hit the Earth back then.
But there's always a but.
The but is they can't find the crater. 11 million years ago, big impacts, scattered debris. But where's the hole?
Huh. Maybe it eroded away or hit the ocean.
Could be. Maybe it hit somewhere where erosion is really fast, or deep in the ocean where the evidence got buried or subducted. Or maybe it was a weird glancing blow that scattered stuff widely without leaving a classic bowl shape.
So another planetary puzzle. It really highlights how much we still don't know about Earth's own impact history.
Absolutely. Planetary defense relies on knowing what's hit us before. All right, let's step back from space and dig into the past. Some really cool archaeological finds and solved mysteries recently.
Yeah, let's start with those iconic Easter Island statues, the Moai. How on earth did they move those giant things?
For ages, the popular idea was, hundreds of people, ropes, logs, brute force, maybe leading to deforestation and collapse.
Right, the tragic eco-disaster narrative.
Well, that narrative is looking increasingly shaky. Research, including work from Binghamton University, strongly suggests they walked the statues.
Walked them. How do you walk an 80-ton statue?
It sounds crazy, but the statues seem designed for it. They have wide bases, they lean forward slightly. The idea is a small crew using ropes could walk them side to side.
And shuffle them forward, like moving a fridge.
Exactly like moving a fridge. But a giant stone one. It implies really clever engineering and physics understanding by the Rapa Nui people.
So much less manpower, fewer resources needed. It completely changes the picture. They were smart engineers, not just, wrecking their island.
Precisely. It challenges those old, maybe overly simplistic collapse theories. They were innovative.
Okay, fascinating. Let's jump over to Thailand. Treasure is found under an old Buddha statue.
Yeah, this is from the Jabravati Kingdom, which was around from the 6th to 11th centuries, really important period for Buddhism spreading in that region.
And they found stuff under a 1,300-year-old statue.
Right, like a hidden cache, intricate jewelry, religious items, ceremonial objects. It's like a time capsule.
What do they hope to learn from these?
Well, insights into their beliefs, daily life, social structure. but also there are some partial inscriptions found nearby that they haven't been able to fully decipher.
Ah, so maybe these artifacts provide context, keys to unlock the meaning of those inscriptions.
That's the hope. It could fill in some big gaps in our understanding of that whole period in Southeast Asia.
Very cool. Okay, next stop, Armenia, a forgotten god.
In an old fortress, Argishtikaneli, from the Urartian kingdom, these guys were a major power back in the 9th to 6th centuries BCE, rivals to the Assyrians.
And archaeologists found.
A 2,500-year-old stone idol carved from volcanic rock. They think it represents some previously unknown deity, or maybe a revered ancestor.
Something beyond their known pantheon or king lists.
Seems like it. We know the Urartians were amazing builders and engineers, great at irrigation, but this find gives us a glimpse into their spiritual side, their inner world.
Was it found with anything else?
Yes, significantly, alongside a stone chest. That suggests a ritual context. Maybe offerings were placed inside or sacred items.
So idol and chest together, painting a clearer picture of their religious practices beyond just state temples.
Exactly. It adds a layer of complexity to our understanding of Urartian culture.
All right, last archaeological stop, a literal time capsule, amber from Ecuador.
And really, really old amber, 112 million years old. This is from the Cretaceous period when the supercontinent Gondwana was breaking up.
Wow. So what's trapped inside? Dinosaurs.
Huh, not quite dinosaurs, but almost as good for scientists. It's full of perfectly preserved insects, mites, beetles, flies maybe, and plant bits.
Incredible preservation, I bet.
Absolutely exquisite. It gives scientists a snapshot of that ancient ecosystem on Gondwana. They can study the evolution of these tiny creatures.
And figure out who is eating who is pollinating what, back when South America and Africa were still neighbors.
Pretty much. It helps piece together the ecology of a lost world right as it was changing forever.
Okay, now a hard turn. From ancient history to the very immediate, very difficult present. Let's talk about the Middle East, the situation between Israel and Hamas, and that recent ceasefire.
Yeah, a really fragile situation. The ceasefire did lead to a major exchange. The remaining 20 Israeli hostages were returned.
And in exchange, Israel released over 1,950 Palestinian detainees. The numbers are staggering.
They really are. And for everyone released, on both sides, the path forward is incredibly tough. Experts are highlighting the urgent need for medical and psychological support.
The trauma must be immense. Sources mention varied experiences in captivity. Some reports of relatively benign conditions, others of severe abuse and torture.
Yes, conflicting accounts, but definite confirmations of severe trauma, both physical and psychological for many. And tragically, amidst the releases, there's still the unresolved issue of 28 Israeli hostages who died.
And whose bodies haven't been returned. That's become a major point of contention, hasn't it?
A huge one. It's weighing heavily on negotiations and adding another layer of grief and anger.
And the humanitarian situation in Gaza remains dire. The UN is pushing for more aid access.
Absolutely. The UN humanitarian chief is urging Israel to open more crossings, warning of critical shortages. There are even reports of Palestinians stockpiling food, fearing the ceasefire won't last.
Then you have these cross-accusations flying around too. France accusing Hamas of summary executions.
Yes, and at the same time, reports emerging from medics in Gaza claiming signs of torture on the bodies of some Palestinian detainees returned by Israel.
It's just claim and counterclaim. Makes it incredibly hard to verify anything and underscores the terrible human cost on all sides.
It really does. Accountability is extremely difficult to establish in this fog of conflict.
And the political leaders are digging in. Israeli PM Netanyahu is adamant about getting those remaining bodies back from Hamas.
He's made it a key demand, yes. And on the U.S. side, President Trump has issued a pretty stark warning,
saying the U.S. might step in militarily if Hamas continues attacks.
Essentially, yes. A warning intended as deterrence, but one that obviously carries risks of escalating U.S. involvement if things flare up again.
So incredibly tense. A fragile ceasefire, immense human suffering, and very hardened political stances. Not an easy situation.
Far from it. Precarious is probably the best word.
Okay, broadening out the security picture. Let's look at Ukraine. Aid has been a bit up and down, but Germany just made a big commitment.
Yeah, concerns about overall aid levels declining from some countries, but Germany stepped up with a significant pledge, about $2 billion in military aid.
What kind of aid?
Crucially, air defense systems vital for protecting cities and infrastructure from Russian attacks and artillery ammunition, bolstering Ukraine's defensive capabilities.
But the conversation always seems to come back to offensive weapons, like those Tomahawk missiles.
Right. President Trump has confirmed he's considering supplying long-range Tomahawks to Ukraine. But there's a big catch. He's making it conditional on European allies footing the bill for them. So U.S. approval, but European funding.
And Ukraine wants these why? To hit targets deep inside Russia or Russian-held territory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to shift from purely defending to being able to strike back at Russian logistics command centers, disrupt their operations further back. Kyiv hopes it might pressure Moscow into serious peace talks.
But that's a major escalation, surely. How's Russia reacting?
With strong warnings, as you'd expect, the head of Russia's FSB, their security service, Bortnikov, came out swinging.
What did he say?
He accused the UK specifically of orchestrating provocations and trying to push the whole EU towards, quote, Ukraine-style degradation under an anti-Russian agenda.
Wow. So blaming Britain for stirring things up and warning the EU is heading for trouble.
Pretty much. He said Western aid, Tomahawks or not, won't change the outcome. And he directly accused British intelligence of being behind recent drone strikes on Russian energy facilities.
So framing any Western help as direct interference in a proxy war aimed at destabilizing Russia and Europe.
That's the clear message from Moscow. Very confrontational rhetoric.
Okay, shifting focus again. U.S. foreign policy. President Trump confirmed CIA operations in Venezuela.
Yes, a controversial confirmation. He stated he's authorized CIA ops there, including looking into potential land strikes.
Land strikes. Against whom?
The stated targets are drug trafficking operations as part of challenging the Maduro government. President Trump mentioned the humanitarian crisis and people fleeing Venezuela as context.
But authorizing strikes, even covertly, inside another country. That's a huge step. What's the reaction?
Significant concern internationally. Worries about regional stability, setting precedents, and blurring lines between counter-narcotics and potential regime change efforts. It touches on a long, complex history of U.S. intervention in Latin America.
And another point of friction. Russian oil. Specifically, India and China buying it.
Yeah, President Trump claimed he got an agreement from India's Prime Minister Modi to stop buying Russian oil.
But has India confirmed that?
Yeah. Not officially, no. It seems to be unconfirmed at this point. The U.S. and UK are definitely pressuring both India and China to cut back on those Russian oil imports to squeeze Moscow financially.
But India especially needs that energy, right? They've been resistant.
Very resistant. They prioritize their own energy security. So despite the pressure, it's not clear how much they'll actually reduce those purchases.
Okay, back to the UK quickly. That espionage case involving China, it collapsed.
Yes, quite dramatically. The case against two men, Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, accused of spying for China leaking sensitive info, just fell apart.
Why? What went wrong?
The details aren't fully public, but the prosecution basically dropped it. It raises some really awkward questions about the investigation, the evidence, or the whole process of prosecuting complex espionage cases. A bit embarrassing, frankly.
And the head of MI5, their domestic intelligence agency, Ken McCallum, commented on the general threat level after this.
He did. He described this as a new era for security threats. Not just terrorism, which he called an ever-present challenge, but also increasingly aggressive and sophisticated actions by hostile states.
Like cyber attacks, spying, influence campaigns.
Exactly. He painted a picture of a much more complex and dangerous threat landscape than perhaps people realize. Constant pressure from multiple angles.
And finally, on a slightly different note, a symbolic shift. The power of the U.S. passport.
Yeah, interesting little data point. For the first time in about 20 years, the U.S. passport fell out of the top 10 list of the world's most powerful passports.
Based on how many countries you can enter visa-free.
Right. Analysts suggest it reflects subtle shifts in diplomatic relations, maybe fewer reciprocal visa agreements being negotiated, a small sign perhaps of changing global dynamics and perceptions.
Okay, let's pivot to the economy, corporate moves, and how they affect people. Starting with Nestlé, big job cuts announced.
Huge news. Nestlé plans to cut 16,000 jobs globally over the next 2 years as part of a major restructuring, a revitalization plan.
16,000 jobs. That's massive. How did the market react?
Positively, which tells you something. Nestlé's share price jumped 8% on the news.
An 8% jump because they're cutting thousands of jobs. Why?
Investors see it as decisive action by the CEO to streamline, cut costs, boost efficiency, and ultimately increase profits and shareholder value. It's often how the market rewards aggressive restructuring, even with the significant human cost.
Right. The focus is purely on the bottom line in that reaction. Okay, from corporate streamlining to demanding more hours. Greece has a controversial new labor law.
Extremely controversial. The Greek parliament passed a bill allowing private sector companies to have employees work up to 13 hours a day.
13 hours. How often?
For an extra 37 days per year. Now, the law says it's optional for the employee, and they get paid 40% more for those extra hours.
But optional in an employment context can be tricky. Unions weren't happy.
Furious. Massive protests across Greece. Unions and opposition parties called it a legislative monstrosity. They argue the power imbalance means workers will feel pressured to accept these hours, effectively losing rights to rest and family life.
Especially in a country where working hours are already pretty high compared to the EU average. What's the government's rationale? Boosting productivity? Tourism, maybe?
That seems to be the argument: economic need, flexibility. But it set up a huge clash over basic worker protections versus perceived economic demands. The fear is optional quickly becomes the norm.
A real flashpoint over how much work is too much. Okay, let's talk retirement. There seems to be a growing divide between generations.
Yeah, the data suggests quite a contrast. Gen X seems to be doing relatively better at building up a retirement nest egg.
Better than who?
Better than many baby boomers, sadly, who are apparently losing ground financially as they approach or enter retirement. Pension changes, housing costs, stagnant wages for some. It's created a tougher landscape for that generation.
And the sources mention common mistakes people make right after retiring. Things that derail their plans.
Yeah, some classic pitfalls. Number one, underestimating healthcare costs. They can shoot up unexpectedly.
Okay, what else?
Not budgeting enough for home repairs. Things always break when you least expect it. And third, maybe the most tempting one?
Going wild in the first few years.
Yeah.
Big trips, spending sprees.
Exactly. That retirement honeymoon spending can deplete savings faster than planned. And overarching all this is often just not getting professional financial advice to navigate these risks.
Makes sense. Okay, quick market check. Stocks were kind of flat, but gold?
Gold went nuts, surged to a new record high, over $4,200 an ounce. $4,218.29, I think, was the peak.
Wow. Why the huge jump? People nervous.
Classic flight to safety. Lots of economic uncertainty, geopolitical tensions. Investors pile into gold as a perceived safe store of value when other assets look risky. Inflation worries play into it, too.
And Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, made a pretty wild prediction about gold.
He did. He said, while he's personally not a huge gold bug as an investment, given all the global pressures, inflation, debt, tariffs, he could see gold potentially hitting, wait for it, $10,000 an ounce.
$10,000.
Seriously. That was his comment. He sees why, in this climate, holding gold seems like a rational defensive move for a lot of people and institutions.
All right, final segment. Let's talk tech troubles, ethical debates, and cultural shifts. First up, AI in the courtroom. Not going well.
No, there was this alarming case where a lawyer used an AI chatbot to help with an asylum appeal.
Okay, seems modern.
But the AI completely made up fake legal cases, cited precedents that just didn't exist.
Oh, wow. That's bad. Really bad.
Yes.
Especially in an asylum case where the stakes are so high.
Exactly. The judge was furious. It highlights a huge problem with current AI. They can sound confident while generating pure fiction, these hallucinations. And lawyers have a duty to verify their sources.
So who's liable when the AI lies and it affects someone's life? The lawyer. The AI company.
Ultimately, the lawyer is responsible for what they submit to the court. But it raises big questions as these tools become more common. Meanwhile, AI companies are getting protective about their data.
How so?
There's a big trend now for AI startups to build their own proprietary training data sets, moving away from just scraping the public internet.
Why? Is public data not good enough? Or are there legal risks?
Both, probably. Having unique, high-quality data gives them a competitive edge. Their AI learns things others don't. And with privacy laws getting stricter, owning ethically sourced data is seen as safer, the new gold for AI development.
Interesting. Okay, now for something completely different. The enhanced games. What is this?
This is wild. It's a new multi-sport event planned for Las Vegas in 2026, backed by Peter Thiel and others.
Okay.
And the big revolutionary controversial thing is they're allowing athletes to use performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs.
Wait, what? They're allowing doping? Seriously?
Seriously. The founder argues the current system, like the Olympics, is hypocritical and corrupt, and that adult athletes should have the autonomy to choose under medical supervision how they enhance their bodies, pushing human limits with science.
So it's like the transparently doped Olympics. Are they offering big prizes?
Apparently, yes. Big money, talk of $1 million for breaking world records. It's the direct challenge to the IOC and traditional sports ethics.
I can only imagine the backlash. Health risks, fairness, the whole integrity of sport.
Oh, the backlash is huge. Traditionalists are horrified, warning about unknown health dangers and destroying the level playing field ideal. It's a massive ethical debate about enhancement versus natural limit.
Truly blurring boundaries.
Oh.
Shifting again. A surprising cultural trend among young Americans.
Yeah, research highlighted by Professor Eric Kaufman suggests a notable drop recently in the percentage of young people identifying as transgender.
A drop. How significant?
The report suggested it halved, from around 7% down to under 4% in the cohorts studied. Also, a drop in students identifying as non-heterosexual on some campuses.
Wow. That seems counter to the trends we've heard about for years. What does Kaufman attribute this post-progressive shift to? Politics? Social media?
Surprisingly, no. His research points towards improved mental health among students after the intense stress of the COVID pandemic years.
Better mental health leading to less exploration of different identities or solidifying identities.
It's complex, but his theory suggests these identity trends might be more fluid and linked to overall societal psychological well-being than previously thought. A really unexpected finding if it holds true.
Fascinating. Okay, just a couple of quick health and legal notes before we wrap. Chikungunya in New York.
Yeah, the first locally acquired case in 6 years. Chikungunya is spread by mosquitoes, so it raises worries about climate change, allowing these disease vectors to move further north.
Right. Something to watch. And a big lawsuit against Johnson & Johnson in the UK.
Yes, around 3,000 people involved in a class action suit over claims their talcum powder products are linked to cancer. It's part of that ongoing global legal battle over talc safety. #tag outro. Provocative thought.
So if we try and tie all these incredibly varied threads together from today, what's the common theme?
For me, it keeps coming back to optimization and blurring boundaries.
Yeah, I see that. We're optimizing materials, like StarCrete, for extreme environments. We're optimizing data with quantum materials, pushing the physical limits of stuff.
Right. Building better, faster, stronger things. But then look at the other debates. We're simultaneously arguing about optimizing ourselves.
Like with the enhanced games, should athletes optimize their bodies with drugs? Or the 13-hour workday in Greece, optimizing economic output by pushing human endurance?
Exactly. Where's the line between maximizing potential and going too far? We engineer materials to outperform nature. Now we're debating doing the same to ourselves or demanding it from workers.
It feels like the pace of technological change is forcing these questions on us faster than ever.
It really does. So thinking about everything we've covered, from manipulating electrons to building on Mars to genetically modifying athletes, potentially.
The final thought we want to leave you with is this. Where should we, as humanity, draw the line? When does the relentless drive for optimization, for maximum potential, compromise something essential, whether that's the integrity of an athlete, the health of our planet, or even the fundamental nature of the materials we rely on?
Where do we decide to put the constraints on progress? Something to ponder.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you next time.
For enjoying Artificially Informed.
Hit subscribe and share it with a friend.
From the left, the right, and straight from the algorithm.
Thank you.
That's it for today's Artificially Informed.
Nope. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Yeah.
Stay sharp, stay curious. See you next time.